afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you joining us today for this brief webinar. We're going to be talking about a wonderful synchronous tool some of you may have used already. It's called Google Meet. Google Meet, like Google Zoom, is a tool that will allow you to conduct live teaching and learning. And it's now, because of the unfortunate events of the past few months, Google has offered the full array of services with Google Meet to everyone who has a huntersoe.org account. Google Meet, like Zoom, is going to be able to work with your LMS of choice, whether it's Blackboard or Google Classroom. So as you know, with Blackboard and Google Classroom, you'll be able to do postings, you'll be able to have discussion boards, you'll be able to have people submit assignments, a lot of those kinds of asynchronous activities. And then along with it, then you'll have Google Meet and you'll have Zoom to conduct the synchronous activities. Now, before we get into Google Meet, just a few things to keep in mind. One would be that with Google Meet or with Zoom, if you're going to be running your sessions, it's a great idea to go ahead and record them. Because as you know, one issue that's probably going to come up with many of your students is going to be bandwidth over the next few weeks. So let's say I'm your student, I might have some difficulty in being able to stay in for the entirety of your Google Meet or Zoom session, or maybe that day, unfortunately, I wasn't able to log on time or at all. If you record these sessions, what you'll be able to do then is they'll be recorded in an MP4 file that you'll then be able to upload to your huntersoe.org drive, and then you'll be able to post that either on your Google Classroom or your Blackboard, so that way people will be able to view all of your sessions, whether it be because of bandwidth issues, they were unable to attend part or all of them, or if they want just to review what was done during the session. So as we look at this, whatever you end up choosing, always make sure you record your sessions. It also can be an invaluable tool to be able to look at your recordings, just to think about how they went. Sorry, I muted myself. What you want to do differently in your next session. So we're going to look at Google Meet. As I said, it is a tool that you can access through your huntersoe.org account. Now you're going to want to make sure, if you have a Gmail, that when you start using Google Meet, you're in the right account. And by doing that, there's always going to be the circle where you'll be able to click to specify what account you're in. Now we're going to be looking at some of the basic structure of Google Meet, the user interface, some of the things that can come up with it. If at any time anyone has any question, go right ahead and let me know what that question is. And also, more importantly, after today, we can run a one-on-one session where you run a Google Meet session with me, and I can help you go through whatever you want, whether you want to get used to being able to share a PowerPoint deck or a video that you have on your computer or online. And the more you do it, the more confident you will get, as will your students. So just realize it takes some practice, but in time it gets, I think it's worth the effort. So as we're looking here, really one of the quickest ways to begin a Google Meet session is going to google.com. And as we see here, I can simply just go ahead and type in Google Meet. It will then take me to the home page, or not the page, or the main page of Google Meet. As we see, that's what the page looks like. I'm going to make sure I'm in my huntersoe.org account instead of my Gmail. And we see we could start a meeting immediately or schedule a meeting later. And we're going to get into how we do that scheduling after we go first looking at what happens when we just start one immediately. When we start a meeting, we give the meeting a title, and then we're almost then ready to go by hitting the continue button. The interface begins. We're going to see this is pre-meeting. We have a few options then to do some settings with our microphone and our camera. One thing to keep in mind with your students, again, possibly due to bandwidth constraints, it's not a bad idea to make sure that you tell them, hey, possibly when you first join the session, to mute your mic and possibly turn off your camera. If you're ever in a session and a student notes, hey, I'm having difficulty hearing and or seeing you, there's latency or the sound is chipping, ask them to mute their mic and turn off their camera. That allows more of the bandwidth, which is the amount of information that can go from them to you, to be spent on your voice and your image. That can help the experience. And I find generally over the years, when students run into issues, it's always around bandwidth. And that is the quickest way to go ahead to deal with that. So joining the meeting, we see the basic information with the meeting session. We see a specific URL. As you know, with Zoom, we have an ID number. With Google Meet, we have a URL. And we, like Zoom, have the ability to, if you see below, copy the invitation information onto our clipboard. We can do that if we want to then pop it into an email really quickly, or we can hit add people right there and go ahead and typing in their email. They'll then get an email notification. Now, if we put in their Hunter SOE ORG, then it will go to that Hunter SOE ORG email. It will look a lot like the Zoom invitation. And then we can send the invite, well, they'll get the link. So now looking at the basic interface here, there I am in the lovely Frankfort Center. You'll see the 3 dots in the lower right allows us to begin the recording process. Again, we will produce an MP4 that will come out shortly after the recording. We also see some other basic settings. I generally find the video settings and the sound settings are good to go from the start of the session. I don't usually play with them that much. One aspect of Google Meet that's extraordinary, though, is the live captioning. So if you have a need with live captioning, Google Meet actually does a pretty fantastic job of it. We can see then up here by clicking who's in our session. And that, of course, will increase as people start accepting our invites. And then we have a function there too for doing chats. It's very tough sometimes to be running these sessions, as you're going to find, and keep an eye on the chats. So be easy on yourself as you're building out your competency on any of these platforms. In fact, I'd even say you might want to start doing this with small groups of your students, building up their competency and security about how to use the platform before going to the entire class. Because those first few sessions, you are going to have people with the latency issues, or I can't hear you, I can't see you. And that's completely understandable and acceptable. As we're seeing now, then we have this very important button, Present Now. Present Now, I can present a window meaning a program or a browser on my computer. So look, I can choose then a PowerPoint deck. By clicking it, you see the blue highlight and then the share button. What we then see is the screen presentation begins. Upper right-hand corner, I can click, and then we'll see what I'm sharing, which is namely my PowerPoint deck. That will come on the main screen that I am seeing too, so it'll be easier for you to do the narration through your PowerPoint and scroll through your deck. This is a very similar feature to Zoom. These two products have very similar interfaces. So you can easily narrate a deck, and of course, you can then record that narration as you're recording your session, and also put that then on your Blackboard or Google Classroom as an asynchronous resource for students to have. So looking at some of the other features then here in Google Meet, we're going to see below the 3 icons, which are namely the microphone, the camera. At either time, you can turn those off if you have to briefly get up. By muting the mic or the camera, if you click on either of those icons, a red bar will appear. And yes, thank you, Kenny, to the rescue as usual. And so then, when we click this, we're seeing then again that information for the individual session. We also saw that little link for attachments. We're going to go into greater detail because along with the captioning, another incredible feature of Zoom is when we schedule a Zoom meeting. We can go into our Google Calendar and click the Create button. And then we can go ahead with our title. Oh, there, someone just gave a link, which is great. Okay. And now that we have the title, we're going to go to the Add Conferencing section. As you see, there's something specifically for Hangouts Meet, and the link appears. This is going to be then in that invitation. And along those with the captioning, another tool this does that Zoom does not. Along with me noting a description then of the invite I'm about to send out to a bunch of people, I can connect multiple documents to the invite from my Hunter SOE ORG drive. Now that could be really useful. That could be that video you might want to have your students review before your Google Meet session so they then can have a great discussion on it. It could be some documents. It could be a website. All of that can be easily connected, and then I just type in their email addresses for the invite. Those will be their Hunter SOE ORG addresses. So then I have my invites, I'd hit save, and then it says, am I ready to send? Yes. So that function of being able to send those invites, and here's a great one-page Meet guide that we're going to have, I think we already have posted on our website. My very intelligent colleague, Audrey, can put this together. It's a good step-by-step process to go through many of the things we just covered. So we have those resources available now asynchronously for you to review. I'd also say, though, the other thing to really keep in mind, whether it's going to be Zoom or whether it's going to be BB Collaborate or whether it's going to be Google Meet, I'd really suggest if you're new to that tool, at your convenience, send us an email. Let's do a one-on-one test session where we get you an opportunity to run that, to run your PowerPoint deck or whatever you want to run, and think about then how you want to best go about utilizing this tool. So I was wondering, now that we've just spoken briefly about some of the basics, are any questions coming up about any specific needs you think you might have with any of these tools?
Dermot, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So if I wanted to do a live PowerPoint that I had planned for class,
Yeah.
could I do that?
Yeah, you absolutely can. What you'll be doing is within the interface, you're going to see, and I'll go get that right now. This will just be one brief moment.
And then can I ask a follow-up question about that? Does Zoom allow for that as well?
Yes, Zoom most certainly does.
Okay.
With your Zoom interface, you're going to see the share screen. And when you click that, like with, pardon me, with Google Meet, you're going to see a series of windows. Those windows are going to be whatever is currently open on your computer. So whether you're going to use Google Meet or you're going to use Zoom or Collaborate, before your class, you want to open that PowerPoint deck you're going to incorporate.
Okay.
So that way, when you hit the share, one of those items that you'll be given the option to share will be the PowerPoint deck. And that happens if we just going back to look at this real quick. Pardon me. As we see here, I am hitting share. I see the PowerPoint deck, and then it loads in. And that again is pressing this button here, present now, lower right-hand corner. When you do present now, then it will come up with a prompt that will then have this information showing the windows, which are also the programs that you currently have open on your computer. So that's going to be the key, is having that deck open and ready to roll probably before you start your session. Sometimes maybe you're going to have a Microsoft Word document open you might want to review, or a Google Doc. If it's, documents like that, you'll want to have those tabs open, ready to go on your browser. So like, let's say I want to share or discuss something in my class that's on Google Classroom. Well, no matter what the platform is, then if it's already ready, I can then scroll through it with my students, whether it's a document or whatever have you, and then you can do the narration. And of course, some faculty actually, what they'll do is they'll have a Meet session or a Zoom session without anybody there, and they'll record it. And that's just another means of screen recording for an asynchronous method. Then they'll have the MP4, post it up on their LMS, build out their asynchronous capacity as they're then getting kids used to these synchronous tools.
And you can just throw that right up on Blackboard?
Yeah, because, well, on Blackboard, you might have to do an embed code because I think they have a limit to how big the files are. The iSit crew would be able to help you with that, but I think at the least you probably could then have an embed code to the drive file where it's located.
Okay.
And that's the key, building up that asynchronous base and then getting your students comfortable with these synchronous tools. Because I find generally those first few sessions, I can't hear you, I can't see you, bandwidth issues, and that's completely understandable. That's why some of our faculty in the past, they did like groups of 5 or 6 at a time, building up that competency. It was a little more work that week. But instead of them bringing everyone in at once, when you bring everyone in at once, you could be doing a lot of juggling. And while certainly someone at our center would love to join you for those big sessions, there's going to be so many of those courses going on, it might be difficult for us to be able to have that presence.
Oh, yeah.
All of your classes. So again, though we like Google Meet a lot with the captioning tool, it's rather incredible. I don't think Zoom has that functionality. And I mean, I like Google Meet also because of the incorporation of the drive. As I said before, let's say you have a video that you want people to see. Well, that can then be sent to them via the invite for the Google Meet before they have the Meet session with you. So it's not just like I'm showing you the video, Dermot. It's more like, Dermot, I sent you the invite with the video. Now it's time for us to talk, and really get into it. Do whatever we're going to do, problematize or whatever have you. There isn't one tool that's better than any of the others. It's based on what you like. Just as I wouldn't recommend Google Classroom over Blackboard or vice versa. So if you're using Blackboard, Collaborate might be a good option. Zoom is very popular for a lot of reasons, good ones. And Google Meet has some advantages too. I mean, if you had anybody who captioning is a concern or a need, I don't know of any synchronous tool better than Google Meet right now with captioning. There might be one, I could be wrong. So that would be another option for you. Are there other questions right now about Meet or synchronous tools?
I have a question. Is it possible in a Google Meet session to put my students into small groups to have them have small group discussions during the session and then bring them back?
Kenny, have you had any experience with the breakout room function in Google Meet?
I'm not aware of a breakout function in Google Meet.
Yeah, see, I really am not either. I'm double checking. I'm cheating right now. I was trying to find.
You can have students create their own Google Meet sessions and then come back to the main session. But I don't think that there's a built-in breakout function.
Right, that's what I thought too. Like we used to have that with Adobe Connect, though Adobe Connect had its other issues. There are breakout rooms, as you know, with Zoom. I'm pretty sure there are in Collaborate. But as Kenny said, the one other aspect of Meet that has some strength for us, it wouldn't be as effective maybe, is everyone with a Google account right now has the full features of Google Meet. So all of your Hunter SOE ORG people do. And that is really important because that also then falls under the FERPA compliance of the user agreement, the G Suite for Education accounts. We wouldn't want anyone using a Google Meet via a Gmail account because it wouldn't have that same protection, that same compliance with FERPA. So your students, so to answer your question, no, I'm pretty sure they don't have the breakout rooms. But as Kenny noted, if you want your students to collaborate in a synchronous, FERPA compliant, safe situation, they all have this tool. and we will support them fully, just as we're trying to support all of you, for them to be able to run those sessions, whether it's, group session or whatever have you. So that has some utility in that regard. Are there other questions?
Dermot, what, in terms of from a student's perspective, what's the most less stressful platform to use?
I mean, it's a great question. I think it's subjective, but I'd have to say from my limited experiences, I find a lot of the people like the Google tools. Zoom is incredibly successful because the user interface is very it's intuitive in a brilliant, simple way. It's really difficult to replicate. I think though, is if you look over our Google Meet support materials, you'll see that's pretty straightforward too. That has also an advantage along, I guess, as does Zoom, is their online help documentation is really strong. Of course, remember, for your students, Zoom isn't going to be an option for them other than joining your session. They could run their own private account, I guess. BB Collaborate, I don't know if ICIT allows students to use that tool. I think it has to be directed by faculty members. Google Meet, they all can use. But I guess if I'm going to be completely honest with you, from what people have told me user interface wise, they tend to like Zoom the most. I know some people who love Google Meet too, though. And this is a Google Meet webinar, so better build that.
Elaine, my best advice would be to try them all and see what works best for you, because there's really no way to say this one's better than that one, because everybody has different tastes and has different needs. So I think the best thing is to try them. And for example, if you're using Blackboard already, then Collaborate's nice because your students are already in the course and you don't have to worry about inviting them to sessions. They don't have to log in or download anything. They just go into the Blackboard course and join the meeting. But within the tool itself, the features can sometimes be, depending on each of the tools, have various layers of complexity and learning curves associated with them.
Right, and we have that with faculty, in like Blackboard or Google Classroom. We have a lot of faculty who love Blackboard, and they have good reason to. There's a lot of great tool functionality in Blackboard we don't get in Classroom. Some like Classroom because of the streamlined aspect of it and the integration of the drive. It really does matter on, subjectively what kinds of things you value most. And I think, as Kenny said, then it's really best to kick the tires on all these tools, to see what you think about it. Google Meet, like Zoom and like Blackboard Collaborate, also do have apps that can load on Android or iOS phones or tablets. Of course, though, remember again, we've had students who literally tried to get into these sessions and they'll be on the Metro North going up to Weehawken, or not Weehawken's New Jersey, to Norwalk. Who would want to go there? Or we'd have somebody in the subway. Bandwidth is going to be a real issue with all of these platforms. You're going to hear people. Another thing to think about when you're conducting your session on any of these synchronous platforms, you want to have a nice quiet room. You want to maybe utilize a mic of some nature so there isn't reverberation on your voice. Ambient noise can be a profound distraction for your students. There's a lot of aspects to thinking about and through the quality of your audio to help people concentrate, and that's a problem on all the platforms. So, hey, are there any other maybe questions or comments at this time?
You said before there was a little one-pager with directions to this Google Meet. Where would we find that again?
So we have a page on the Frankfort Center. Kenny, do you want to show that, or I can go get that? Where we're going to be having both the support materials and access to the videos of these webinars, and let me go locate that. I see somebody's good. Oh, wait, no, see somebody's sharing their screen. Pardon me, let me just stop that momentarily. Let me get you that page right now.
I posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay. It's delivering courses remotely, right? Is that where it's going to be? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a really incredible resource. Kenny got together really quickly, and it does a great, I think, job of concisely and coherently showing maybe different needs faculty members might have and the tools that would be applicable to meeting those needs. And this is located, if you see here, the School of Education. If you go from the home page to About, to Centers, to Frankfort, and then on our page, you'll see one of those sub pages is delivering courses remotely. And that's going to have these support materials. If you scroll down, you'll see all kinds of things: virtual office hours, voiceover slides, recording video lectures, and then our support documentation, which will take you to that wonderful one page. Oh, it's more than one page. That great resource Audrika put together on Google Meet. So are there any other questions then at this time?
If we wanted to share a teaching video during a session, so if we wanted to show part of it, stop it, and allow for discussion, is there a platform that allows for that?
Yeah, Google Meet does, Zoom does. The key with Zoom is going to be when you do the share icon, before you select the item you want to share, in the lower left-hand corner, there'll be a box you click that enables the computer audio then to also be shared. And I'm certain Collaborate does that. I haven't used Collaborate in a little while. So you could do start, stop, and something of that nature. You can do that in Zoom.
Zoom and Collaborate.
And so when you do that the first time on Zoom, you're going to have to note, you might get a prompt from your within the operating system where you'll have to put in the password on the that you use to turn the computer on to grant permission for it to share the audio.
So, Dermot? Oh, good. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you doing?
Oh, wonderful. How are you? So I have a question in terms of sharing from Google Drive. A student uploaded their video, and if I'm able to share from Google Drive on Google Meet.
Well, Google Meet's really a synchronous tool. I would think if somebody has a video on Google Drive, the best way for them to share it is within Google Drive. They can go to the video. Like, for instance, if I was on my Google Drive, pardon me, such as this, I can then go to that video and click this icon here and type in that person's email. They'll then get an email with a link they can then open the video for. I probably would do that before sharing it on a tool like Meet, because the audio, I guess, would be an issue if I opened it up within the browser to view it. So I would do it within the drive. So
can you show me that tomorrow? Because I'll be sharing.
Certainly.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Not to take up everybody's time. I'll be sharing it with the class.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Great.
Question. One question. And there's no limit as to how many people you can invite and how long you can hold a live session. Because I know there was like an email I saw, 45 minutes Zoom. They were going to extend it for a class Meet. Is there?
Meet extended it up to 250 people.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
At least for the time being, for the next few months, because of the situation that we find ourselves in.
And you can hold the session for as long as you need to, an hour, 2 hours, however long the course.
That's right.
Great.
For the time being, I think it's at least through midsummer. It will be certainly through the remainder of the semester.
I have a question as well. So right now I see that there are 16 participants, but I only see five individuals at a time. Is there a way where you could see everyone on Zoom?
There's the gallery view in the upper right-hand corner. It looks like a 3x3 matrices.
Yes.
I see.
Okay.
Click that, then it looks like the Brady Bunch.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go back to speaker view. So again, then, we really appreciate everyone coming in today. Unless there are any other questions, I would just be noting what Kenny said. Really the best tool is the one you're most comfortable with. And regardless of what that tool is, you'll get more comfortable with it by running test sessions. And if you need anyone to do that with you, we really do hope you'll reach out to us so we can run those with you. So whether it's getting your decks together, thinking about sharing video or whatever have you, we're there to help you in running through that before you do it with your students. So please reach out to us if any questions come up, okay? We really appreciate your time today. We know